Okay, so we can see just in the room, at least we've got, most of us have heard about Biz before, and some of us even read newsletters, but we also have some people who've never heard of Biz before. Okay, but let's start. So firstly, thank you for joining us today. My name is Tetel Christians, and I own and manage Success by Design. This is a business consultancy specializing in developing sustainable growth strategies that optimize processes and service design for productivity and profitability for service-based businesses. Now, as part of a COVID initiative, we also offer free webinars and share our knowledge and ways of improving businesses to the greater business community. And this webinar is part of that. Today, we're going to focus on resources that we can access within the B2B client database and how we can grow that database. And one of the biggest free resources that we have is Bizcommunity, which is actually the largest free digital media resource in Africa. And joining us today very generously from Biz, we have Clarina De Freitas. Clarina herself is the new business manager at Biz, and she has over 14 years experience in digital marketing with a collective 26 years in sales. And I'm sure this lady could tell us quite a few things there. She's got a great background in terms of marketing, media, ICT, and different industries. She's also previously was the national recruitment specialist for them, and she's going to be sharing her knowledge with us today in terms of how we can use Bizcommunity as a resource for us and building our businesses. Clarina, thank you for being with us.
Hi, Tito. Thank you so much for this amazing opportunity, and thank you so much for what you are doing for the industries. But just, having this sort of networking sessions, and so I really appreciate that, and welcome everybody. Thank you for being here today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Clarina, and thank you to everybody for being here. So guys, we are going to try and be as interactive as possible. Clarina's presentation is going to be about 15 minutes in terms of how we can use Biz, but we will do a poll in between that as well. And then we'll also network, and there'll be a prize at the end instantly in this actual webinar for the person who wins that networking session. So prep your 1 minute about your company and what you have to offer, because you never know, you might just meet a client today or a future supplier. Okay, so Clarina, could you start us off by telling us what is Biz?
So Bizcommunity is a homegrown, independently owned media company in Africa. It is a community where individuals, companies, organizations, and brands can get control of their daily corporate communications. It is an indispensable platform for brand awareness, brand marketing, advertising, business news, and reputation management, which is really important. I mean, we've been serving daily corporate news in Africa to the world since 2001. And here's a fun fact, right? That we were established 5 years prior to before social media was even born. And it is one of the very first in Africa and one of its first in its kind in South Africa. And so Bizcommunity is your gateway to business partners. It's also the hub for business connectivity, networking, trade, and business establishment.
Okay, thank you for that. You know what I find most interesting about Bizcommunity, especially given how things has changed in the pandemic times, we've also had a lot of media outlets go behind paid walls, like a certain amount of their content is behind paid walls. Bizcommunity, though, has remained 100% free. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. I mean, since inception of Biz, I think that the whole idea behind it was to help the business community and get them connected. And I think that was really the heart of the founder, that things would be given away for free for people to come to the resource and just drink from that fountain.
Okay. Can you tell me a bit about the target audience for Biz, please?
So our target audience is made out of tech-savvy business professionals, decision makers, economically active and trend adopters. Majority of our readers are females and totaling about 55% of our total reach. And our readers, most of our readers have university degrees and 26% have college diplomas. Most of our readers earn more than 50,000 Rand per month. And this ultimately shows you just the buying power and the business mindset of this community, of our community.
Wow, that is fantastic to know. So as you could see with our poll earlier, not a lot of us attending actually have a great amount of knowledge about Biz. So can you help me as a business, as a B2B business, what can I use Biz for?
So I'm just going to share about 4 tips with you on how you can leverage the power of Biz. And I'm going to base this on a client that I met about 4 years ago, in actual fact, at a business event. And I saw how her business went from, and I mean, even at the time, she was even indecisive whether or not she should open the business, start the business. And after meeting with her, she eventually said, okay, this is what she's going to do. And in 9 months, she employed 10 employees and she has seen the benefit. I mean, just work was so well. So I'm going to start with tip number 1. Tip number 1 is the power of connecting on Bizcommunity. And so how we're going to do that is we are going to create an account or a profile, which is free. From that, it gives you various opportunities to continuously add relevance to the industry and to set yourself apart as a thought leader. From my account, you will be able to submit news, events, galleries, new appointments, new business announcements, and even like a very standard free business listing, as well as multimedia. Your YouTube videos can go on there. And even if you feel like you want to contribute content to the industries, you are free to do so. And our editors will just obviously have a glance at it and see if that news is newsworthy. This also helps in terms of your search engine optimization, your search engine marketing reach, and this is so crucial in the digital world. Tip number 2 is the power of reading. And to subscribe to our daily newsletters is like gold, but more so specifically in the industry that is relevant to your business. For example, daily agriculture top stories impacts directly on retail news and retail on logistics and logistics on automotive, e-commerce and finances, etc. Every sector from time to time needs to dip into the know-how of another, and there is no sector that will not benefit from the resources of our business communities. We have over 18 business industries on the site, and our newsletters are compiled with business articles where businesses actually make the news, events, jobs, and the how-tos. This is then led the articles, and the power also, I want to just elaborate on this a small bit, is that within an article, you can extract information that is so relevant, compile a database, and search for leads. This is another great magnet in terms of leads research. Tip number 3. Tip number 3 is the power of networking. We have various event pages, and on our event pages, there are different events that are listed. Some are for free and some you can attend. This client started attending bi-weekly events, and I know with COVID, there is virtual events and it costs you nothing to attend to these things. And that is how she actually got recognized as an industry influencer just by pitching up and attending those. There's so much power in it.
Okay, so those 3 so far. Do you have another one?
Those are my top three. And I would also say, there's so much resources. Biz is known to be a resource center. So if you have even special reports that you want to read about, you can actually go onto the site and read more and dig deep into it. You will find what is trending for the day. You will find what is also in terms of if you are looking for a job specifically, even you can even go onto our site for using that for purpose sake.
I mean, one of the big things that I know about Biz is that they do annual trend reports, and what's quite special is it's cross sectors and it's throughout Africa, which is very useful. That I've seen. I mean, I just want to come back to one of the points that you mentioned, you know, how it's important for us to stay up to date across sectors. If we look at COVID, right, immediately all of our medical facilities were busy, but nobody ever thought to realize that the printing section would be busy as well, because somebody had to display the rules, somebody had to make those changes. The impact on its own just rippled across all the different industries. So you're 100% right there. I mean, it's definitely that you need to stay updated. So tell me, what are some of the latest trends, the biggest trends that you're seeing?
Okay, so annually we have a special trend focus reports that goes on our site, and that normally happens in January. We normally have this huge big trend events, and we have, you know, just influencers that would speak in and around trends for different industries. I think so much has changed and so many things have accelerated. And a lot of people have been saying that in terms of technology, we've accelerated 5 years in 6 months since lockdown started. So with that accelerated trajectory, it's going to have a ripple and a knocked on effect of a lot of things here. I think in the words of Dion Chang specifically, he mentions after 2020, he thinks it's important for brands to have a sense of value or integrity or some kind of moral compass, because the world has changed so radically. So he says that every business needs to re-look what they do, what their business model is, what they stand for. Customers are no longer where you thought they were, and they might not be at needing what you thought you were selling to them. It's that kind of massive change of, are you selling to the right thing, to the right people, and where are they and what do they need? I think the biggest trends would be for brands to definitely relook at women, data, Gen Z, and we've also seen the sudden surge of e-commerce specifically. But I think that the one trend that really stood out for me is brand authenticity.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, this trend has been coming on for quite a while now in terms of ensuring that your brand is displaying the correct values and aligned to its customer segment in terms of what they stand for from a value and a principle perspective. A very strong trend definitely coming through from the international market. Tell me, okay, so we've covered basically 4 tips that you've given out. I'm going to launch a poll to everybody in our audience, and I actually want you guys to tell us, out of the 4 tips that were mentioned, which one do you find to be most useful? So coming up on your screen now should be a poll. And I'd just like to see what everybody's thinking. Come, you've got 20 seconds. 19, 18, 10, 7, put down the sandwich. 8, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Share results. Okay. So can everybody see that? What we see is definitely attending events has worked. I mean, whether it's virtual or not. Obviously, in person is everybody's first preference, but we do what we can right now. I'm sure we've all learned to adapt as best as possible. Okay, so can I ask you, what is the biggest myth about Biz that you find?
So the biggest myth that we find about Bizcommunity is that we're an all jobs portal, and that we solely just for marketing and media content. And that is so not right. I mean, we publish news for 19 industries, 18 industry specific, and so we're more a news provider than what we are a jobs portal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and what is the biggest tip that you can give as Bizcommunity to us B2B business people in 2021?
So the biggest tip is just be authentic in terms of your brand and where that is really reaching and where that is going. I think the biggest step is to develop multiple business strategies to prepare your business for the next economic decline. And I don't want to sound like a prophet of doom, but multiple strategies are required, and there's no one-size-fits-all formula that works for different circumstances. I think that you should have regular meetings with your stakeholders to discuss market continues and any signs of an economic crisis. I think scenario planning is so important in this day and age, and especially within business.
I completely agree with you. We need to put more time aside to think about different scenarios in America, especially, I mean, we're based in South Africa, we have infrastructure issues, we have water issues. Oh, we even have weather issues these days. Don't know what weather it's going to be. I've asked in the chat box that we start to put some questions down, Clarina, for you about Biz. We do have one question that's come through so far. It's from Paul West, and he asks, can anyone submit business articles or news briefs to Biz?
Yes, you can, as long as it's not too self-promotional. Anything that's too self-promotional, they will definitely put a handbrake on that. But if it's relevant to the industry and it is making a change and a difference, they will definitely publish the news and business articles.
Okay, that's good to know. And I think, Paul, what we will do as part of this release, I'll send out an email afterwards, and Clarina will give me the email address and so forth, the details where you can submit those articles to. Okay, because you definitely want to share your knowledge, and that helps get you noticed as well in the market. Any more questions from anybody? Please put them in the chat box. Wow, Clarina, you've done such a, there we go. From M. Smith, an architectural group. My business is very local based. Would Biz benefit me here in my small town of George?
I think when you look at business, you're not supposed to look at from a small town perspective, but rather from a larger geographical perspective. I mean, it's so important, and yes, we can definitely do so. We do have a property industry that you can do your research on, and even just, I think that just list your business there, because anyone can search for you, and when they find you, I'm sure that they will find your details on there in George.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say to M. Smith there, if I was living outside of George and I wanted to build a holiday home in George, and I don't know who the local architects are, I would definitely say it would be to your benefit to have a listing online with Biz as well, because it's free, and advertise the fact that you're a local architect in George.
Yeah, just one thing on George's question. Like you mentioned it so well in terms of just researching, and that is why it's important to have yourself on it for that research purposes, else nobody would know that you exist.
That's very true. You have to be known, guys, digitally. Okay, we've got two more questions, and then we're going to start our networking session. The first one is, again, Paul, is Biz free? And the answer to that, Clarina?
It's not totally free. It's free to subscribe to our newsletters and to read our content and things like that. But they are free services, like part of the listings and all those things that I mentioned prior to that, like some events are free, some other things, but they are paid for section. And if you want to leverage more within the particular community that you're in, we then work out certain campaigns for you, and we specifically then targeted to our audience. We also have various other products, which includes like what we call the press office, which gives you a complete, or the Biz office, which gives you a complete 360 on to use various things, from content to display advertising to promote to things using that particular product. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. So basically everything that Clarina mentioned before is free. You do have a free listing and you have a paid listing, and maybe we can just include some information after this in what we send out. The last question I'm going to take before we start the networking is, what platforms is Bizcommunity on and where do you list your business? I think in part we might need to send out some sort of info, but Clarina, do you just want to answer that question?
So what platforms they are obviously on, it's a house on its own. And so the industries that we do serve, and I'll just mention it quickly to the user, is anything from marketing and media, agriculture, automotive, construction, engineering, CSI and sustainability, education and mining, my favorite, entrepreneurship, finance and insurance, healthcare, human resources and management, IT and telecommunications, legal, lifestyle, entertainment, logistics and transport, manufacturing, property and real estate, retail, tourism, travel, hospitality and hospitality.
Okay.
So these are all the industries that we cover, and yeah, I hope that answers that question.
That's fantastic. Okay, now guys, remember we have a networking competition. What's going to happen now, because part of the reason why you want to join a webinar is you also want to network with other people here to see possibly if it could lead to a client